Good morning, everyone. Today, we will be continuing to discuss learning disabilities. As I said in my last report, learning disability is very complex. According to Hayward 2003, there are 3 to 5 tests used to identify students who may have learning disabilities. These are norm reference tests, process tests, informal reading inventories, criterion reference tests, and direct daily measurement of learning. The National Achievement Test, the Regional Assessment Test, and the School-Based Achievement Test are examples of norm reference tests. These are designed to measure how many of the skills in each learning area, from English, Filipino, mathematics, science, and Makabayan, have been learned or mastered. There are two widely used American process tests. These are the Illinois Test of Psycholinguistic Abilities and the Marian-Frostig Developmental Test of Visual Perception. Let me explain to you what are these two process tests. The Illinois Test of Psycholinguistic Abilities is an individually administered battery of tests designed to measure the spoken and written language abilities of children aged 5 to 12. On the other hand, the Frostig Developmental Test of Visual Perception is a set of tests designed to assess aspects of visual perception skills in children in order for teachers to be able to address learning needs. The tests aim to assess eye motor coordination, perception of figure ground, perception of form constancy, perception of position in space, and perception of spatial relationships. Criterion reference tests in specific subjects such as reading, language, and mathematics are used to determine the mastery level of a predetermined criterion that the student should be capable of achieving. An informal reading inventory usually consists of a series of progressively more difficult sentences and paragraphs for oral reading. The student's mistakes in reading skills are recorded particularly in pronunciation of vowels and consonants, omissions, reversals, substitutions, and comprehension. A useful method of determining a student's performance in learning a particular skill is through direct daily measurement of his or her progress in learning the skill. The direct daily measurement of the mastery of the skill being taught informs the teacher about the deficit in learning and allows him or her to make the necessary adjustments in the lesson. The purpose of assessment is to determine what is needed for intervention, which also requires consideration of contextual variables and whether there are comorbid disorders that must also be identified and treated, such as behavioral issues or language delays. Therefore, the assessment of learning disabilities has an impact or implications to education or to teaching. Since learning disability is a very complex condition, teaching students with learning disabilities is very hard. That is why special education experts highly recommend the use of the diagnostic prescriptive evaluation approach in teaching children with learning disabilities, as well as those with mental retardation. According to an article, this approach has existed for decades, and to implement this type of instruction in a classroom, teachers first diagnose their students' academic abilities and limitations, then prescribe an appropriate course of action to address areas of weakness. The results of assessment are used directly to draw up an individualized education plan. The long-term annual goals that the students can achieve are identified, then the short-term quarterly objectives are prescribed. Monthly, weekly, and daily instructional plans are written to achieve the preset goals and objectives of teaching. And formative and assessment evaluation procedures are employed to track the mastery of the skills. So that's all from my part. Thank you and good morning.